Stop being manipulated by others and learn to stand your ground. Have you ever trusted someone so much only to end up hurt? And when that happened, didn't you feel that bitter sensation that maybe it was your fault for trusting too much? The truth is, at some point, we've all been there. We trust with an open heart, whether it's a friend, family member, or someone at work, and suddenly that trust is shattered. It's not easy, I know. But what if that frustration could be avoided? What if there was a way to trust others without getting hurt so much? This isn't about shutting yourself off from the world or being suspicious of everything and everyone. The key lies in finding a balance. Be open, yes, but with wisdom. Trust, but with discernment. In this video, we'll explore the traps of naivety and how it can catch us off guard. More than that, we'll discover ways to deal with these situations while staying true to ourselves. We don't have to become cold or mistrustful to avoid disappointment. What we propose here is different, understanding how to balance reason and emotion, how to trust others intelligently without letting fear control us. So, let me invite you to reflect with me. How many times have you acted on the impulse to believe in someone only to later feel you could have made a different choice? And most importantly, how can we learn from these experiences and use that knowledge to grow? That's our starting point. And I guarantee that by the end of this video, we'll find a healthier, more conscious way to trust. We are not alone on this journey. Let's do this. Trusting others is, in a way, an act of courage. We give up certainty and choose to believe that the other person will stand by us, will act with reciprocity, and will value the trust we offer. But sometimes that choice puts us in delicate situations, leading to the inevitable question: how do we handle it when trust is broken? How do we face the pain of realizing that maybe we trusted too soon or too much? And even more importantly, how do we know if we're being genuinely open or just naive? All of us at one point or another have gone through this. We believed in someone, a close friend, a partner, or even a co-worker, hoping that the bond would be strong. For a while, we convinced ourselves that trusting was the right thing to do, that it was worth seeing the good in people. But then, without warning, things change. Trust is betrayed. Words that once felt genuine reveal themselves as empty, and frustration creeps in. When that happens, it's only natural to ask, where did I go wrong? Is trusting too much a flaw? Should I have been more cautious, more skeptical, less open? And here we encounter a dilemma, because trust is beautiful. There's a purity in being able to open our hearts to others, to believe that people act with good intentions. But it's also risky. When we let naivety guide our choices, we make ourselves vulnerable to disappointment and opportunism. And that vulnerability can feel like a burden, making us wonder if we'll always believe too easily and suffer for it, or if the solution is to shut ourselves off from the world and distrust everything and everyone. This duality is tricky. No one wants to be seen as naive, but we also don't want to lose our essence, the genuine desire to believe in others and live freely. So, is the answer to develop a bit of cunning? Should we become more cynical, always suspicious, and expecting the worst from people? Not necessarily. There's a middle ground. The goal isn't to choose between being entirely naive or completely mistrustful, but rather to learn how to trust with intelligence. That means developing discernment, the ability to see beyond the surface while staying true to who you are. Finding this balance takes practice. Trusting is a delicate act, and every experience teaches us a little more about how to do it. And no, that doesn't mean we need to wear mistrust like armor all the time, because those who live that way end up isolated, always on the defensive. The challenge is to see things clearly, to know that not everyone will reciprocate our trust, and that this says more about their limitations or intentions than about us. Trusting is like walking a tightrope. It takes balance to avoid falling into either extreme, whether it's blind naivety or paralyzing cynicism. This is a valuable lesson. Instead of viewing disappointments as personal failures, we can treat them as opportunities to grow. When things go wrong, it's not our trust that needs to be punished or eliminated, but our discernment that needs to be sharpened. It's possible to trust without losing ourselves. It's possible to be open, but also alert. And that brings us to the next step, understanding how to develop this skill of conscious trust, preserving our essence without being swayed by empty promises or false intentions, because true trust begins within us. The more we learn to trust ourselves and our ability to judge wisely, the less we depend on external validation and the more confident we become in our choices. We live in a world that often tries to divide everything into black and white, good on one side, evil on the other. We are taught to believe that things are polarized, as if they were opposing, incompatible forces. But what if evil isn't something separate and absolute? What if evil is simply the absence of good, a kind of void left when wisdom and virtue fail to manifest? This perspective changes everything, doesn't it? It makes us realize that often, evil doesn't arise from malicious intent, but from ignorance, a lack of knowledge, and the inability to discern what is right. When we view the world through this lens, we see that people don't always act harmfully because they intend to do wrong. Most of the time, they act that way because they don't know any better. Understanding this doesn't mean we should justify everything or passively accept others' faults. Instead, it helps us approach human behavior with more compassion. After all, who has never made a mistake out of ignorance? Who has never hurt someone, even unintentionally, simply because they didn't know how to handle a situation differently? Life is complex, and both good and the absence of it coexist all the time. It's not about living in a world without flaws or expecting perfection, but understanding that these dualities are part of the human experience. Ignoring this reality would be like fighting against the very nature of life. The goal isn't to eliminate evil completely, something impossible, but to learn how to recognize it when it arises and deal with it wisely. This is where discernment comes in, a skill that allows us to clearly judge what lies before us. Discernment helps us identify genuine intentions and distinguish what is merely a reflection of ignorance. It enables us to trust the right people while also protecting our emotional space from those who haven't yet learned to act with integrity. Developing discernment is like training a muscle. The more we exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Over time, we learn to move through the world with ease and confidence, seeing beyond appearances and choosing our actions wisely. Accepting that good and the absence of it coexist grants us freedom. Freedom to make mistakes and learn. Freedom to view others' mistakes without holding on to resentment. Freedom to trust, but with eyes wide open. Discernment offers us this balance. It doesn't make us cynical but aware. It teaches us that trusting isn't about abandoning reason, but aligning heart and mind to find the middle path. In the end, the goal isn't to live a life without flaws or disappointments, but to learn to navigate through these experiences with serenity and wisdom. Discernment is a subtle but powerful ability. It's not about distrusting everything and everyone, but about seeing the world more clearly, understanding what lies behind people's words and actions. When we develop discernment, we learn to make careful judgments without losing our essence. Conscious trust isn't blind surrender, but an informed choice. And that's the difference between trusting wisely and being naive. A naive person believes without questioning. A discerning person trusts with awareness, evaluating every situation attentively. We often believe that to protect ourselves from disappointment, we need to harden our hearts, becoming colder and more suspicious. But there is a better way. Discernment isn't malice disguised as wisdom. It's a skill that allows us to see deeply without straying from our true nature. The difference is that instead of expecting the worst from everyone, we learn to accurately identify intentions. This way, we can trust where there's solid ground and retreat when we sense danger, without closing ourselves off to opportunities for genuine connection. Like any skill, discernment can be developed. At first, it may be challenging to distinguish sincerity from manipulation, especially for those accustomed to trusting easily. But with time and practice, the mind becomes sharper, recognizing patterns, signs, and nuances that once went unnoticed. Discernment is like tuning an instrument. With every experience, our perception becomes more precise, and we learn to play the right notes, whether to trust or step away. Trusting consciously is an act of balance. It's not about expecting betrayal at every turn, nor about ignoring the small red flags along the way. When we develop discernment, we create space for healthier trust, allowing us to maintain deep relationships without sacrificing our peace of mind. Most importantly, we begin to trust, first and foremost, in our own ability to judge with clarity. With discernment, you can be the person who believes in the best in others, but also knows when to say no. You don't need to carry heavy armor for protection. True protection comes from inner wisdom, which allows us to recognize when we're facing something genuine or an illusion. This wisdom liberates us, enabling us to live openly, without fear, but with our feet firmly on the ground. In the end, discernment is a conscious choice to live with eyes wide open, without letting the fear of getting hurt steal our ability to trust and be authentic. It teaches us that it's possible to be both generous and cautious, open without being naive. And that is true trust. Trust that doesn't depend on others, but grows from within, from knowing who you are and what you're capable of seeing. Developing discernment is a journey that requires practice and attention. It doesn't happen overnight, but unfolds through continuous learning and self-improvement. There are 3 essential steps that guide us along this path: questioning, listening to intuition, and self-reflection. Each step functions like a puzzle piece that, when properly aligned, enables us to see situations more clearly and make more conscious decisions. The first step is questioning. Questioning doesn't mean being suspicious of everything, but rather not accepting things at face value. Promises can be enticing, and charming words often convince us that everything is fine. That's where danger lies. When we don't investigate what's beneath the surface, we risk falling into illusions and manipulations. Asking why, how, and for what purpose gives us the opportunity to see beyond appearances. Whether in personal relationships, political speeches, or new job offers, questioning keeps us alert and prevents emotions from taking over entirely. Curiosity is key here. Those who ask, explore, and those who explore uncover hidden truths that might otherwise remain concealed. The second step is listening to intuition. Intuition is that inner feeling that alerts us when something feels off, even if we can't logically explain why. However, we need to distinguish genuine intuition from the voice of the ego. The ego tends to be louder, seeking to keep us in our comfort zones and shielding us from immediate discomfort. Intuition, on the other hand, is subtler. It's like an internal compass that, when properly calibrated, guides us through tough decisions. Listening to this inner voice can be challenging, especially for those accustomed to over-rationalizing. But over time, we learn to trust this instinct. While it's not infallible, it is a valuable tool that complements reason by revealing insights that pure logic may miss. The third step is self-reflection. To understand the intentions of others better, we need to begin with an honest examination of ourselves. Often, the behaviors that annoy us most in others reflect attitudes we harbor within. At some point, all of us have acted selfishly or manipulated situations to our advantage. Acknowledging these patterns within ourselves isn't about destructive self-criticism, but about growth. When we understand our own motivations and limitations, we gain the ability to recognize similar patterns in others. Self-reflection offers a mirror through which we can view the world with more clarity and compassion. This gives us an advantage. By understanding ourselves, we become better equipped to perceive the intentions behind others' actions. These three steps, questioning, listening to intuition, and self-reflection, work together to strengthen our discernment. Each step is a practice that we can cultivate daily. When we ask questions, we also listen to our inner responses. When we trust our intuition, we build confidence in who we are, and when we look inward, we gain a clearer view of the world around us. Discernment is a skill that liberates us. It allows us to trust without fear and withdraw without guilt, knowing we are acting in alignment with what is true and just for us. Body language is a silent but powerful form of communication. It speaks without words, revealing intentions, emotions, and truths that words often attempt to conceal. Through subtle gestures, facial expressions, and postures, we can sense whether someone's words align with what they truly feel. The challenge is that manipulative people understand how to use body language to their advantage. They know how to interpret bodily cues and use them to gain trust, conceal selfish intentions, and influence behavior. That's why learning to interpret body language is an essential tool for protecting ourselves from such traps. When we observe carefully, small details can reveal a lot. How someone looks at us, their posture during a conversation, hand movements, or tone of voice. All these elements convey a message beyond words. For instance, excessive eye contact may be a forced attempt to appear confident, while a constant, exaggerated smile could mask discomfort or hidden intentions. In contrast, a genuine person displays coherence. Their words and gestures flow naturally, and their body remains relaxed and open. Understanding these signals is a form of practical discernment that complements questioning and intuition. When something feels off, like a weak handshake or an expression that doesn't match the spoken words, our intuition is triggered. This is the moment to pay attention. The combination of body language and intuition allows us to pick up on nuances that a superficial analysis might miss. Manipulative individuals are masters of disguise. They know how to use their bodies and tone of voice to project trustworthiness and sincerity. Therefore, it's not enough to observe body language in isolation. We must combine this observation with careful questioning and self-reflection. By cross-referencing these cues with the answers we receive and our internal feelings, we start to piece together a more complete picture. Self-reflection also helps us recognize whether we're projecting expectations or insecurities onto others, which can distort our interpretation. This isn't about becoming paranoid, scrutinizing every gesture or expression. Instead, it's about staying mindful and present during interactions. Paying attention to body language sharpens our sensitivity, allowing us to respond appropriately. This skill grants us the autonomy to decide whom we can trust and from whom we should keep our distance. Moreover, it strengthens our inner confidence, reassuring us that we are attentive not only to spoken words, but also to what is communicated between the lines. Understanding body language is like learning a new language. At first, the signals may seem confusing, but with practice, we begin to identify patterns and nuances. Gradually, this skill becomes a powerful ally in building healthy relationships and preventing manipulation. And so, without losing authenticity or lightness, we navigate the world more safely and consciously, prepared to handle whatever comes our way, whether it's a genuine connection or a cleverly disguised illusion. Knowledge is the foundation of everything. Without it, we are like leaves in the wind, carried wherever circumstances push us without control over our choices. When we lack information, we become easy prey to manipulation and deception. On the other hand, The more we learn, the better we see beyond appearances, and the more capable we become of interpreting reality clearly and accurately. Discernment is largely born from knowledge, as it gives us the tools to distinguish truth from illusion. The danger lies in complacency. Sometimes it's tempting to believe we already know enough and don't need to seek anything further. After all, the comfort zone is familiar and feels safe. But that is precisely where the risk lies. When we stop growing, we stagnate, and our perception becomes limited. Manipulations thrive in the gaps left by ignorance. The less we know, the easier it becomes for others to fill those gaps with distorted truths and hidden agendas. This is why learning must be a lifelong commitment. No matter how much we've experienced, there's always something new to discover. It might come from a book, a conversation, or practical experience. Every new piece of information has the potential to broaden our worldview. And it's not just about seeking theoretical knowledge, but also applying it. True wisdom isn't only in what we learn, but in how we put that knowledge into practice through the choices we make. Continuous learning also strengthens our internal confidence. The more we know, the more secure we feel in our decisions, because we no longer rely solely on others' opinions to validate our choices. This confidence is liberating. We don't need to blindly follow anyone's promises because we have the tools to investigate, reflect, and decide for ourselves. With knowledge, we cease to be mere spectators of our lives and become the protagonists of our own stories. Learning doesn't have to be complicated. Today, we have access to endless resources, books, videos, courses, and open discussions online. Information is within our reach, waiting to be explored. The question is, are we willing to step out of our comfort zones and seek what will empower us? Continuous learning is a never-ending journey, but every step along the way prepares us to face challenges and seize opportunities. In the end, knowledge is the foundation that sustains everything. It illuminates our path, sharpens our discernment, and protects us from manipulation. With it, we can trust without fear, decide with clarity, and live authentically. The message is simple but powerful. Never stop learning. The more you know, the better prepared you will be, not only to face life's challenges, but also to live fully, consciously, and truthfully. Life is a series of experiences, and every tough situation we encounter holds the potential to teach us something valuable. It's not always easy to recognize the lesson in the midst of chaos. But over time, we realize that even the most difficult moments can make us stronger and wiser. Every disappointment, broken trust, and wrong decision presents an opportunity for growth. And it's precisely in these situations that we find the most important lessons for developing discernment. The truth is, there's no one-size-fits-all path. Each of us must find our way of navigating trust and the balance between being open and cautious. What works for one person may not work for another, and that's okay. The key is to keep moving forward, learning from each experience. Discernment is a skill that improves over time, bit by bit, as we reflect on our choices and the outcomes they bring. The challenge lies in the continuous practice. It's not enough to understand these concepts intellectually. We need to apply them in real life. Every situation and interaction offers us a chance to practice, questioning, listening to our intuition, and looking within ourselves. Discernment is like a muscle. The more we exercise it, the stronger it becomes, and the more prepared we are for whatever comes next. You may still encounter disappointments. There will be times when you trust the wrong person or close yourself off to someone who deserved your trust. And that's okay. We are human and we are learning. What matters most is to keep going, adjusting your course as you move forward. Every step counts, even the small ones. Daily practice is what transforms knowledge into wisdom and discernment into a natural ability. So the final message is this: keep going, keep questioning, keep listening to your intuition, keep observing yourself and learning. And above all, keep believing that you are capable of finding the right balance between trust and self-protection. Don't rush to get it right every time, but also don't become complacent. The journey is yours, and only you can walk it. The path of discernment has no end, but along the way, we discover how to live more consciously, fully, and authentically. Each time you choose to trust wisely, you take a step forward, a step toward a lighter life, with less fear and more authenticity. So let's keep moving together. The practice never ends, the learning continues, and every step along the path is an opportunity to grow. And so we come to the end of this discussion on trust, discernment, and learning. If you've made it this far, you've already taken an important step, reflecting on how to better handle these issues and find balance between being open and careful. Remember, the journey of discernment is ongoing, and every experience, whether good or difficult, matters. What's important is to keep moving forward, always learning and improving. Now, I'd like to hear from you. When in your life did trusting too much become a challenge? How have you handled those situations? Share your experience in the comments. Let's continue this conversation together. If this video added value to your life, don't forget to give it a like. It helps the channel reach more people who could benefit from these reflections. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to do so and activate the notification bell so you won't miss any future content. Thank you for watching and for being part of this journey. See you in the next video. Until then, keep practicing, learning, and trusting wisely.